everyone, I am Fatima Tarang from BSED English 3A, and today we will tackle about the 50 strategies for effective writing remediations, and together with my groupmates. So, I will be the first discussant for today's video, and let us start. So, our first strategy is the model, practice, and reflect cycle. So, this cycle emphasizes the importance of writing techniques. So, you're allowing your students to practice them and reflect on their experiences. So, like for example, you are to share your students an exemplary text that helps your students understand what effective writing looks like. So, you're to guide your student to practice the model you have shared to them. So, structured exercise can help your students to apply what they learned from the model, techniques in a supporting environment. So, after that, you are to ask your students to maintain journals to reflect on their writing experiences based on the practice that they did or they do. So the next strategy is the integrate writing and reading. So you are connecting reading and writing to help your students understand how effective writing stems from reading good examples. So like for example, after reading a short story, students will analyze the author's sentence, structures, and character development. Then using the techniques identified, they are to write their own story, their own short story with the focus of those elements. The focus is in the author's structure, sentence structure, and the character development. Whoa! Next is we have the number 3. So this is the assess students' writing to inform instruction. So regular assessment of students' writing can guide instructors in identifying skills, skill gaps, and tailoring instruction accordingly. So like for example, you as a teacher will conduct a quick writing assessment at the beginning of a unit and identify the common errors such as the run-on sentences and other errors of your students. So the teacher then plans a specific mini lessons on sentence structure to address this issue. So this will help your students to identify the errors that they did in their writing. Next is, so we also have the teach metacognitive strategy. So you're encouraging your students to think about their own writing processes. That helps them to become more aware of how to revise and edit effectively. So here, your students can use a checklist while drafting to ask themselves the questions like what are the purpose of their writing, so who are their target audience. Then ask them to make a journal and answer those questions there in their journal. So after that, after they finish their writing, they discuss how their strategies impacted their writing. Next is we have the provide explicit instruction in writing process. So these teaching specific writing processes like pre-writing, drafting, revising, editing, and publishing will help our students to understand the stages of writing. So like for example, a teacher explicitly teaches each step of the writing process by first modeling pre-writing techniques with brainstorming, then guiding them through drafting and having them revise their drafts in stages. Next is we have encourage peer review and feedback. So here, peer review allows your student to share their work and receive constructive feedback, so enhancing their editing and critical thinking. So like for example, after your students after your student finished making their writing, so you are to ask your students to exchange their drafts, like for example their essays, to ask you are to ask them to exchange their essays, and you are to provide them a rubric to give each others a feedback on the clarity, organizations, and the argument strength. So then they have to follow up the discussions of the feedback received. So this will help your students to understand what is something that they need to improve. That's all. Next is you can use graphic organizers for planning. So graphic organizers help your students to structure their ideas visually in making complex writing tasks more manageable. So before writing an essay, students can use Venn diagram to compare and contrast two characters from a novel. So that is the example of using graphic organizing for planning. So this helps your students to organize their thoughts and prepare for a structured essay. Next is we have the Implement Writers Workshop Models. So the Writers Workshop Models provide a supportive community that nurtures your individual writing while allowing your students to learn from each others through collaboration. So like for example, students will spend their time independently, following by sharing time. So where they read excerpts from their work aloud and receive feedback from classmates. So it's like peer and this is something like uh, same with peer review and feedback, fostering the sense of audience and purpose in the writing. Next is we have focused on specific writing genres. So, concentrating on particular genres helps your students master the conventions and the styles associated with each form. So, like for example, after studying the features of persuasive writing, students are to ask with writing a persuasive letter to the school board about the change they desire. So you are utilizing specific structural elements like claims and counter arguments. Next is we have incorporate technology and digital tools. So using digital tools can enhance writing through collaboration, drafting, and editing processes. So students use collaborative tools like Google Docs to write essays together. So you are allowing for real-time feedback and editing. So students can write their writings in the Google Docs, and you can manage what are they doing there, and you can also give feedback there. So features like comments, functions enable clear communications about writing changes. Next is we have emphasize strong verbs and concise language. So teaching students to select strong verbs and concise language enhances the clarity and impact of their writing. So like for example, a lesson might focus on revising sentences to replace weak verbs with strong alternative. Like for example, changing the run quickly to sprinted. And deleting the unnecessary words to tighten your prose. So next is we have the last strategy that I am going to discuss to you, because some strategies will be discussed by my co-discussants. So next is we have the strategy number 12, which is to encourage original imagery and avoid cliches. So original imagery stimulates creativity and interest in writing while avoiding cliches. So this leads to more authentic and engaging works. So like for example, your students practice writing descriptive paragraphs based on sensory details rather than common phrases. Like for instance, instead of saying the room was as hot as oven, they might describe how the sweat dripped down their backs as the air thickened with heat. So that is the encourage original imagery and avoid cliches. So the next strategies will be discussed by my co-discussant. That's all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Mary Jane Francisco from BS at English 3E. So now let's continue the discussion about the strategies to have an effective writing. Number 1. Teach the importance of audience awareness. For example, as a teacher, we can provide them a real-world example. We can also encourage students to share their own writing experiences. Just like, for an example, how they convey text messages to their friends versus to their teachers. So, number two, provide frequent writing opportunities across subjects. In this strategy, it is very effective to strengthen the writing skills of the students. As a teacher, we can let them write an open piece of newspaper to share their thoughts and think critically about a certain situation. So it encouraged them to explore their surroundings based on their own observations and own thoughts. Strategies number three, use formative assessments regularly. So in this strategy, the teachers pinpoint the specific area where students excel and where students struggle. It also identifies the strengths and weaknesses of the student. In that way, the teachers will know the progress of their students through this assessment. An example of this assessment is think, pair, and share. It engages the student in multiple activities at the same time. Through this strategy, it also allows the teachers to determine the ability of each student and how they can handle teamwork. So that is the strategies of use formative assessment regularly. So let's proceed to number four. Foster a supportive writing environment. In this strategy, there are two key areas need to consider, which are the physical environment and emotional environment. So the teachers should create a safe space for students or a safe ambience where they can share their hardships in writing so the teacher can guide the students in private. So as a teacher, we should be mindful of our words when we suggesting on what they need to avoid, or we need to avoid harsh criticism and negativity so that the student can feel more valued, motivated, and encouraged. So strategies number five, celebrate student writing achievements. In these strategies, to motivate the students' achievement in writing, especially in writing remediation, the teacher can pause or display the names in the bulletin board or classroom display. So in that way, the students feel more motivated and valued. And also, they can feel a sense of belonging at school when they feel accepted, respected, and appreciated. Strategies number six, teach self-regulated strategy, or SRST. This strategy, it helps the students to improve or overcome challenges in writing, especially for those students with learning disabilities. For example, as a teacher, we should provide the students with organizers or checklists to guide them through the steps. So through this strategy, we can help the students develop their writing skills and to build their confidence even more. Strategies number three, use literature to inspire writing. In this strategy, the teacher can inspire their students through literature by letting them analyze and observe how the author used their correct grammar and punctuation when writing. So with the help of this strategy, it helped the students develop their critical thinking skills in writing. Next, strategies number 8, encourage goal setting and writing tasks. In this strategy, the teachers give the students writing journals to, the, to set their goals and also instruct them to write down their specific writing goals to that journal. And with the help of that journal, it can help the students achieve their target goal in writing. In this strategy, it also helps the student discipline themselves. So that is all for the encourage goal setting and writing tasks. Next, strategy. Break projects into manageable parts or chunking or chop. So breaking down projects into smaller parts can help the students to maintain their motivation and avoid fatigue and stress. As a teacher, we should allow the students to work step by step to break and relax throughout the process. So by breaking down the tasks, can better visualize what do they need to complete. It also helps them to reduce errors in writing. Next, strategies. Use mentor text to model effective writing. Under this strategy, as a teacher, we will provide an example, a piece of text writing to serve as a guide to our students so they can improve their writing skill or skills. Always remember that students learn best with the help of a guide because it provides them with structure, support, and direction. Next strategy, provide clear rubrics for assessment. So in this strategy, the teacher should use clear language when teaching because it allows the students to easily understand the information being presented and also choose a concise language that students can clearly understand. And please don't always use unfamiliar terms or words when providing rubrics. So students are less likely to feel confused or overwhelmed by unclear language, which can hinder their learning processes. Next strategy, encourage reflection on writing processes. So, as a teacher, we can allow the students to keep writing journals where they can reflect on their writing experiences and where they can record their thoughts, their own challenges, and strategies. It can also help them to improve their analytical skill because it requires them to express what they think and how they think that way. Last strategy, promote collaboration among students. In this strategy, by implementing these strategies, as a teacher, we can create a classroom where students feel empowered to work together and be comfortable with each other, and also they can learn from each other and achieve their best. And also, we can assign specific roles within group to ensure that all students have a chance to contribute inside the class. Also, to help them develop skills that are important for the future workplace and to create a more engaging learning experience.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, classmate. So today I will discuss to you about the remediation instruction in writing. First, we have the teaching revision as a critical part of writing. It emphasizes the importance of revising written work to improve clarity, coherence, and overall quality. So this involves teaching students to critically evaluate their drafts, make necessary changes, and understand the writing is a process, that often requires multiple interaction. So revision is not just about correcting mistake, it's about rethinking and reshaping ideas, teaching students to view revision as an integral part of the writing process. It helps to understand that good writing often requires multiple drafts. This can involve recognizing content, refining arguments, and enhancing clarity, which ultimately leads to stronger final pieces. Like for example, after students complete their first draft of a narrative essay, have them exchange papers with the peer for feedbacks, then ask them to revise their essays based on their feedback received, focusing on improving clarity and adding descriptive details. So next is integrate vocabulary interaction with writing tasks. Combine vocabulary development with writing assignments to help students learn and apply new words in context. This approach enhances their writing by expanding their words and improving their ability to express their ideas. So vocabulary is an essential part of effective communication. By teaching new words alongside writing assignments, students can immediately apply that they learn. This contextual learning helps reinforce their understanding and retention of vocabulary, making their writing richer and more precise. Like for example, uh, introduce a set of new vocabulary words related to a specific theme like adventure. After discussing the meaning and use of these words, assign students to write a short story that incorporates at least uh, five of new vocabulary words. Next is offer choices in writing topics to increase engagement. So allow students to select from a range of writing topics that interest them. Providing choices can boost motivation and engagement as the students are more likely to invest effort in writing about subject and are passionate about. So when students have a say in what they write about, they are more likely to be invested in the process. Offering a range of topics allow them to explore their interests and passions, which can lead to more enthusiastic and authentic writing. This choice can also foster a sense of ownership of other works. Like for example, provide students with a list of writing prompts such as write about a theme you face challenges, describe your dreams vacation, or create a fiction character. Allow them to choose one prompt that resonates with resonate them about. So next is use prompts to stimulate creative thinking. Provide students with writing prompts that engagement, imaginative, and critical thinking. These prompts can serve as starting point for stories, essays, or other writing forms, helping students overcome write blocks and explore new ideas. So writing prompts can serve as a springboard for ideas, especially for students who may struggle with writing block. These prompts can be open-ended questions, scenarios, or images that encourage students to think creatively and explore different perspectives, helping them to generate content or to be writing. Like for example, give students a prompt like you wake up in the morning to find that you can talk to animals. Write about your first conversation. This encourages them to think creatively and explore imaginative scenarios. Next, we have number 5. Encourage reading the diverse text to enhance writing skills. Promote exposure to a variety of genres, styles, and perspectives through reading. This practice helps students understand different writings, techniques, and enriches their own writing by providing models of effective communication. The exposure to a variety of texts, differences, genres, style, cultures can significantly influence a student's writing. Reading widely helps students understand different narrative techniques, voice, and structures, which they can then incorporate into their own writing. It also broadens their worldview and enhances empathy. Like for example, Assign students to read a short story from a different culture or a poem by a diverse author. After reading, have them write a reflective piece on how the author's style or perspective influenced their own writing. Next, focus on punctuation and grammar in context. Teach punctuation and grammar rules within the context of students' own writing rather than in isolation. Practice of uh, this approach helps students see the practical application of these rules and understand how they contribute to the clarity of effectiveness of the writing. So teaching punctuation and grammar rules with context of actual writing helps students see their practical. Instead of learning rules in isolation, students can understand how these elements contribute to clarity and meaning the writing, making the lessons more relevant and memorable. Like for example, during a writing workshop, provide students with a paragraph that contains several punctuation errors. Have them work in a pair to identify correct the mistake, discussing how the proper punctuation changes the meaning of the sentence. Number 7. Incorporate multimedia projects for variety expression. Encourage students to use different media such as videos, presentation, or digital storytelling to express their ideas. This approach allows for creativity and can cater to different learning styles, making writing more engaging and relevant. Allowing students to use different media such as video, podcast, or digital presentation enables them to express their ideas in diverse ways. This not only caters the different learning style but also encourages creativity and innovation in their writing as they learn to adapt their messages for various forms. Like for example, assign students to create a digital story using images, audio, and text to tell a personal narrative. These projects allow them to express their ideas through multiple formats while practicing their writing skill. Next is teach note-taking and outlining skills for research writing. Provide instruction on effective note-taking and outlining techniques to help students recognize their thoughts and research findings. These skills are essential for structured essays, reports, making the writing process more manageable. Effective notes-taking and outlining are crucial for organizing thoughts and information, especially in research writing. Teaching these skills helps students synthesize information, identify the key points, and structures their writing logically, making the writing process more manageable and coherent. Like for example, before starting a research paper, teach students on how to create an outline based on their research question. Provide them with a graphic organizer to help them categorize their notes and structure their paper logically. Next, we have the provide targeted support for the struggling writers. Offer individualized assistance and resources to students who face challenges in writing. So these supports may be include one-on-one tutor, tailored assignments, or specific strategies to address their unique needs. So not all students progress at the same pace, and some may need additional help. Offering targeted support, such as a personalized feedback, extra practice, or modified assignments, can help struggling writers build confidence and improve their skills. This individualized attention can make a significant difference in their writing development. Like for example, identify students who is struggling with writing and offer them a writing workshop that focuses on specific skills such as developing a thesis statement or organizing paragraphs. Provide one-on-one guidance during the session. So next we have the use technology for drafting and editing. Incorporate digital tools, softwares that facilitate the writing process, such as the word processor, grammar checker, and collaborative platforms. Technology can streamline drafting the editing, making it easier for students to revise their work. So technology can streamline the writing process. Tools like word processor, grammar checkers, and collaborative platforms allow students to draft, edit, and receive feedback more efficiently. Familiarity with those tools also prepares them for modern writing, demands academic and professional settings. Like for example, introduce students to collaborative writing platforms like Google Docs, where they can draft their essays and receive real-time feedback from peers and teachers. Show them how to use editing tools to improve their writing. So next we have implement regular feedback cycles with students. So establish a routine of providing constructive feedback on students' writing. Regular feedback helps students to understand their strengths and areas for improvement, fostering a growth mindset. Consistent feedback is essential for growth. Establishing regular check-ins where students receive constructive criticism on their writing helps them to understand their strengths and areas for improvement. These ongoing dialogues foster a growth mindset and encourage students to take risks in their writing. So like for example, set up schedule where students submit drafts of their writing every 2 weeks. Provide written feedbacks on their strengths and areas for improvement and hold individual conferences to discuss their progress and next step. So now we are now to the last part. Encourage journalism as a daily practice. Promote the habit of journaling to help students develop their writing skills and express their thoughts and feelings. Daily journaling can enhance fluency, creativity, and self-reflection, making writing a more personal and enjoyable activity. So journal provides a low-stake environment for students to practice writing regularly. It allows them to explore their thoughts, feelings, and ideas without the pressure of formal assignments. These daily practices can enhance their writing fluency, develop their voice, and encourage self-reflection, all, all which contributes to better writing skills over time. Like for example, start each class with 10 minutes journaling session where students write about prompts such as what are 3 things you are grateful for today. This practice helps them to develop their writing fluency and encourages self-expression.
Good day everyone, I'm Norede Isnani from BSed English 3A. Foster a growth mindset about writing abilities. Encourage your students to see writing as a skill can improve with practice rather than an innate talent. So reinforce the idea that mistakes are opportunities to learn. So use positive reinforcement and focus on progress over perfection. Like for example, instead of criticizing errors, provide constructive feedback like your introduction is strong. So let's work on adding more specific details to your body paragraphs to make them even better. So share stories of famous writers who improve over time, such as how J.K. Rowling faced rejection before achieving success. Another is connect writing tasks to real-world applications. So here shows students how writing skills apply to everyday life and various professions, which increases engagement and motivation. Real-world connections make the learning experience more meaningful. So, like for example, assign your students to write a persuasive letter to the principal or dean suggesting the changes they want in their school. For older students, have them create a resume or draft a professional email for a job application. So, teach the structure of effective essays and reports. So, here,
provide a clear step-by-step guidance on organizing the ideas, including writing introductions, body paragraphs, and conclusions. So, teaching frameworks like the 5 paragraph essay can help the students structure their thoughts. Like for example, by using graphic organizers like a hamburger model to visualize, represent the structure of an essay. For a report, introduce the format such as heading, subheadings, and bullet points to organize information effectively. Next is utilize peer teaching opportunities in writing groups. So, encourage collaborative learning where students review and critique each other's work. Peer teaching fosters a sense of community, improve critical thinking, and allows students to learn from different perspectives. Like for example, create a small writing groups where the students exchange the drafts and provide feedback on clarity, the grammar, and ideas. Provide also checklists or guiding questions like does the introduction grab attention? Are the arguments well supported? So that's it. Next is use games and interactive activities to teach writing concepts. So, incorporating fun and interactive activities makes learning enjoyable and help the reinforce the key writing concepts. So, games can also reduce the stress associated with writing tasks. So, like for example here, play a sentence building relay where the students add more sentence at a time to create a story. Use Mad Libs to teach the parts of speech or host a writing scavenger hunt where the students identify the examples of descriptive language or persuasive techniques in text excerpts. So, next is encourage students to read their work aloud for clarity. So, reading aloud helps students identify the awkward phrasing, run-on sentences, and unclear ideas. So, it also allows them to hear how their writing flows, making it easier to spot the areas for improvement. Like for example, during editing, ask students to read their drafts to appear or the class. For as students reading their narrative essay might realize they repeated the same sentence, structure, and revise for variety. Next is utilize online platforms for collaborative writing projects. So, collaborative tools such as Google Docs or writing apps encourage teamwork and provide real-time feedback. So, these platforms allow the students to brainstorm, co-author, and edit together while developing digital literacy skills. Like for instance, assign a group project where students collaborate to write a research report using an online platform. So they can divide sections, provide feedback on each other's contributions, and create a cohesive final product. Next is promote the use of outlines before drafting essays. So, outlines help the students organize their thoughts and establish a logical structure structure before they start writing. So this makes the drafting process smoother and more efficient. Like for example, provide a template for students to create outlines before writing an argumentative essay. So have them list their thesis on three supporting points, counter arguments, and conclusion before beginning their drafts. Next is teach students to analyze their audiences, needs, and interests. So here, understanding the target audience help students tailor their tone, style, and content. It ensures that their writing is engaging and effective. Like for example here, if students are writing a persuasive essay, so ask them to identify their audience. So our classmates, parents, or school officials. So, for a letter to the principal advocating for a new school policy, students should use formal language and present logical arguments supported by evidence. Next is promote the use of outlines before drafting essay. So, as mentioned earlier, outlines are a vital planning tool that saves time and ensures clarity. So, they help students stay focused on their main ideas and avoid unnecessary tangents. Like for example, so for a compare and contrast essay, students can create an outline with two columns to list similarities and differences. So they can then organize these points into an introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. So these strategies can be combined with other teaching techniques to create a dynamic and supportive environment that fosters strong writing skills.